On Reality Check tonight, I want to examine a paradox. And the paradox is this. Today, if you question the government, you question the state, you question the ruling party or its leaders, you risk being labelled anti-national or even being slapped with charges of sedition. But what happens when, in the name of religion, members of the ruling establishment question the writ of the court, even issue warnings to it? Not just any court, but the highest court of appeal under India's constitution. This seems to be the case in the current escalation of the rhetoric on the Ram Temple after the Supreme Court deferred the hearing of what is known as the title suit of the case till early next year. The title suit is meant to decide whether the title of the land belongs to Hindu groups or Muslim groups. This deferment by the court has so angered the ruling party and its ideological affiliates that they have, in a series of provocative statements in the past few days, questioned its jurisdiction and even issued not-so-veiled warnings if the order is not speeded up or in their favor. Starting with the RSS chief, who at a speech in Nagpur at an event organized by the VHP asked, "Can society run only on law? Can questions be raised against faith?"
साफ ये तो संकेत मिल गया कि ये मामला प्राथमिकता पर नहीं है, तो क्या करना? समाज केवल कानून के अक्षरों से नहीं चलता, समाज अपने मन से भी चलता है। दुनिया में सर्वत्र ऐसा है। कानून को उसको भी समझना पड़ता है, समाज भी कानून का सम्मान करता है। राम जन्मभूमि है, रामलला है, उनका ये स्थान है। अब उस पर मालकियत किसकी है?
On the same day, his deputy at a similar VHP event in Ayodhya said this. This was Mr. Krishna Gopal of the RSS. He said the youth can go to any extent on the Ram Janmabhoomi issue. Identify those who are trying to postpone the construction of the Ram temple and those who don't want the court to give a judgment on the matter. We will not sit with ease nor allow others to sit comfortably until the temple is constructed. A few days ago, the BJP's ally in Maharashtra questioned the delay in settling the Ram temple matter, saying that the Babri Masjid was demolished in 17 minutes.
17 मिनट में बाबरी तोड़ दी, टाइम लगाकर 17 मिनट में। जो सालों साल से वो कलंक अयोध्या को लगा था, वो 17-18 मिनट में, आधे घंटे में जो करना था राम भक्तों ने कर दिया। तो कागज बनाने में कितना टाइम लगता है? कागज बनाने में, कानून, ऑर्डिनेंस, अगर आप बात करते हो, राष्ट्रपति भवन से लेकर उत्तर प्रदेश के विधानसभा तक बीजेपी की ही सरकारें हैं।
Remember, the demolition of the masjid was a criminal act as yet to be fully prosecuted. The Sena chief who went to Ayodhya kept up the narrative of victimhood, saying the sentiments of Hindus cannot be taken for granted.
कानून बनाओ, अध्यादेश लाओ, कुछ भी करो, लेकिन मंदिर जल्दी बनेंगे। बस अब हिंदुओं की भावनाओं के साथ खिलवाड़ नहीं होनी चाहिए। मंदिर तो होगा, मंदिर तो होगा ही होगा, लेकिन अगर ये सरकार मंदिर नहीं बनाएगी तो शायद ये सरकार नहीं बनेगी, लेकिन मंदिर जरूर बनेगा।
Meanwhile, the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, who held a huge event in Ayodhya recently, made it clear that regardless that the matter is still under adjudication, he is fairly clear what the outcome will be.
मंदिर था, मंदिर है और मंदिर रहेगा, इसमें कोई संदेह किसी को थोड़ा है। भगवान रामला जहां विराजमान है, वहां भव्य स्वरूप देने की लोगों की मांग है। उस भव्य स्वरूप के बारे में सरकार भी अपने स्तर पर प्रयास कर रही है और मुझे लगता है कि इसका कोई ना कोई सकारात्मक हल बहुत शीघ्र निकलेगा।
Meanwhile, Giriraj Singh, a minister in the present government, kept up the Hindus are getting impatient narrative.
मुझे भय है कि अगर हिंदुओं का सब्र टूटा तो क्या होगा, ये कोई नहीं कह सकता। इस पर तो विवाद होनी ही नहीं चाहिए। इस पर तो कोर्ट में जाने की जरूरत नहीं, आजादी के बाद ही बन जानी चाहिए थी।
And finally, the Prime Minister of India. For all the provocation by his parivar, his ministers and his allies at a recent election rally, he blamed the Congress for trying to bully the court.
जब अयोध्या का केस चल रहा था, कांग्रेस के नेता, राज्यसभा के सदस्य सुप्रीम कोर्ट को कह रहे हैं कि 2019 तक केस मत चलाओ, क्योंकि 2019 तक कई चुनाव है। क्या भाइयों बहनों, देश के न्याय तंत्र को इस प्रकार से राजनीति में घसीटना उचित है क्या? उन पर इस प्रकार का दबाव डालना चाहिए क्या?
Just a day ago was actually Constitution Day, and the Chief Justice of India said that not heeding the advice of the Constitution would result in a descent into chaos. I wonder what he had in mind. Let's go to debate. We have Vivek Reddy, lawyer and BJP leader, joining us from Bengaluru. Joining us here in the Delhi studio, Sandeep Mahapatra, member of the RSS. Joining us are two very senior Supreme Court lawyers, Amarendra Sharan, former Additional Solicitor General of India, and Dushyant Dave, senior advocate, Supreme Court. Vivek Reddy, to you first. I don't personally like the use of this term anti-national in the way that it has come into widespread use, or rather misuse. But if the same benchmark is applied to those that are abused or called anti-national because they challenge the law, they question the state, they question the ruling party, then all these statements that we've heard, how is this not anti-national?
Why is it? What is wrong in they asking for a Ram temple within the constitutional framework? Nobody is saying take the law into your own hands and build it. They are saying if at all anybody is making a hue and cry about it, all they are saying is pass a legislation. That's one. The other thing is wait for the court judgment. This is the two alternatives we have. And within the constitutional framework, this is what they are asking.
But you just
and what
heard
is wrong,
them.
Mr. Srinivasan Jain? If,
did we just hear,
people of India, if
did we just
ask for a Ram temple at Ram's birthplace, where else should they ask?
Did we just hear the same set of comments? We had people saying that the patience of Hindus is running out. We heard people saying that the youth can go to any extent. We heard someone saying the masjid was demolished in 17 minutes.
Well,
you're saying that this is all reflective of people who are respectful of the law?
This is if...
What is this if not veiled or not so veiled intimidation?
If the Shiv Sena MP has said that, that doesn't make, we are not bound by that. But what I am telling you, Mr. Srinivasan Jain, is overall...
Giriraj Singh, a minister in this government, said the patience of Hindus is about to break.
And within the constitutional means, that is by a law or by the court hearing, through a court hearing. Then
can I just ask you?
There is nothing wrong in saying the patient will run out, because it is something innately that the people want.
Okay, the people want. So tomorrow, if let's say Asad Owaisi or Azam Khan was to say the patience of Muslims is running out, you'd have no problem with that.
I'm not able to hear you, Mr. Jain.
Are you able to hear me now?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Vivek Reddy?
Yes, better. Please. Yeah,
My question is, if tomorrow...
Yes, I can hear you now.
If tomorrow Asad Owaisi or Azam Khan were to say the patience of Muslims is running out, you'd be fine with that?
Well, what reason is there for their patience to run out? There is
I'm
no
just
reason
asking.
why their patience should run out.
I'm asking.
There is no such occasion.
I'm simply asking, were they to say that?
No, there is no
you would
such
be okay
occasion
with
for
it?
them to say.
You think there's nothing worrying or
by
nothing intimidating about it?
By using the words, I don't think we'll have to put these things in perspective, because when anybody says patience is running out, it doesn't mean anything else but patience is running out. It doesn't mean or doesn't suggest that they will take law into their own hands. No, not at all. If that was meant, it was wrong. But that was not meant. But the Hindus in India have been very tolerant and patient.
Okay.
Mr. Srinivasan Jain, let us understand that. They have been waiting for the court to take a decision. And they are not taking law into their own hands.
I'll come to this question of tolerance and
I don't
patience.
have the capacity. Let me just make a clarification. I don't have the capacity to make a statement for Hindus of India. But generally, I am saying that this is how they have been.
Okay.
They have been very tolerant.
Let me go across.
And I don't think that we will have to read such innuendos.
Okay. Yes. Dushyant Dave, senior advocate, Supreme Court. Are we reading innuendos into these sorts of statements that are being made? in the context of a matter that is still being adjudicated by the highest court of this country?
Well, there are many things, to be, one can read into these kind of statements which are coming. And there is no doubt about the fact that the elections are round the corner in 2019 and therefore the Bharatiya Janata Party and its allies and of course its supporting social organizations would really want this temple issue to be resolved, because they apparently feel that this is the issue which can really, they are all proud.
Fact of the matter is that I think if there are two and our desirers that come what may, the temple must be built. And I think that will perhaps give them the correct answer, because don't forget one thing, that even the victory of Prime Minister Modi, a huge victory in 2014,
yes,
he had got something like 35 to 40% votes only.
Right.
So that's one thing which one should mind. Secondly, I think if government is really serious that there should be a Ram temple, then I think it is important for the government to really take all opposition parties together. They should all talk to the Muslim community, jointly, so that nobody feels that this is being used for political, ends. And if all these parties can persuade the Muslim community to really, accept this position,
right,
that, this is a place where Lord Ram was born and therefore a temple must be built.
Yes.
Provided, of course, the Muslim community should be assured that there will be no further demands. Because, let us understand one thing. Our history is replete with, barbarism on the part of the Muslim invaders, 500 years ago.
Right, right.
So, you are not going to repeat that history today by, raking up. Somebody has just had a puja in Taj Mahal. Are you going to demolish Taj Mahal?
Okay,
so
let me
I
just
think
go
we
to...
have to be really very practical about what we want to do.
Okay, so you're saying dial down the rhetoric, try to get into a negotiated settlement. I'll come back to those questions in a second, but I want to just come to Amarinder Sharan and ask you this, that Vivek Reddy said, and this is something which we are hearing again and again, that Hindus are very tolerant, they've been very patient. Actually, the mosque was the one that was demolished by Hindutva groups, and the case is still being prosecuted. Just last year, Amarinder Sharan, as you know, charges of criminal conspiracy were finally restored by the Supreme Court against top BJP leaders, including Mr. Advani. Now, in the context of all of this, when you have such a charged context, for leaders to come out and say that the patience is running out, the youth may have to take matters into their own hands, the mosque was demolished in 17 minutes, isn't this a cause for concern?
It is definitely a cause for concern. The fact that the Babri Masjid which existed there was vandalized and it was demolished is something with which we have to live with. Now it's a thing which is definitely a criminal act. We were all witness to it. We saw it, that the state failed to protect Babri Masjid. Now, in such a situation, if you say we are a very peaceful persons, we are very patient. Patient people do not break law, they do not break walls, the patient people do not break masjids or mandirs. It is not a sign of patience at all. We must maintain communal amity, we must maintain good relationship between both the communities and all the communities in India, and then only the country can progress. We cannot just have a majoritarian kind of a rule that we are majority, will do whatever we like. No,
right.
This is not the way this country is built.
Sandeep Mahapatra.
This is not the way the constitution is.
Sandeep Mahapatra.
And I think either there should be a judgment by the Supreme Court, or as Dushyant rightly said,
yes,
there should be an amicable settlement between the two communities after a proper discussion and after somebody has a feeling that it is not a consensus which has been driven to by putting a pistol over their heads.
Right.
It's out of free will. And I think if it is by free will, and if the Muslim community builds a temple there, Hindus should also build a big mosque.
Okay,
and it should be resolved in an amicable manner.
Okay, well actually, as we know that there was an attempt by the court to try and see if there could be a negotiated settlement outside court, which didn't work, and the matter sort of reverted back to court. But if I can just ask you this, Sandeep Mahapatra, the contradiction between on one hand claiming that Hindus are tolerant, while actually it was the mosque that was demolished, not a temple. So where's the question of tolerance?
We need to remember that the mosque that is being talked about, it was a disputed structure. There are evidences to suggest that since 1934 there has been no namaz in that mosque. It was lying closed, shut down. In 1949,
demolition?
No, I am coming to that. In 1949, the locks were opened and Ram Lala appeared on that scene. And after that, and we are talking about patience. Yes, Hindus are patient because since 1949, if not from 1528, we have been waiting for the day where Sri Ram will get justice, a temple to be built in his birthplace.
But
and
you're not answering my question. Does that defend the demolition?
See, the demolition is being inquired into. There is like criminal cases going on, and many leaders are being prosecuted.
Yes.
So the fact remains that this Ram temple issue was seized by the Supreme Court. There was every attempt that was made by the Supreme Court to decide the matter, and when the final hearing was taking place, and mind you, this is written in the judgment that was passed by the 3 judges bench, declining to refer the matter to the 5 judge bench. And the judgment says that on 5th of March, when we are about to start the final argument of the matter, Mr. Rajiv Dhawan's counsel for the one of the party, he brought up this issue of taking this matter to a 5 judge bench. And the reference that was made to a 1995 judgment of the Supreme Court regarding the status of a mosque, whether it is an integral part of the religion. No, the question is,
we know those facts. I'm asking you something else.
We know the facts, but the facts remain that we are trying to kind of sidestep the facts. The fact remains that the case has been pending in the Supreme Court. There was an opportunity in 2018 and in fact 2017 for the final arguments to be heard. And Srinivas, being a lawyer also,
you're a lawyer. So you're aware of judicial
that,
delays.
Yes,
You're not, I'm on a different point.
Yes.
I'm saying that as a lawyer, you're aware of judicial delays. You're aware that the courts have a huge backlog. Correct. You're aware that cases get often delayed for months, years on end. This is not a great thing, but it happens. Now, if you have a situation where elected representatives, high functionaries in the government as well as affiliated organizations like the Sangh Parivar, start issuing these sorts of statements in the matter of a judicial delay, patience of a majority community is running out. Youth will take matters into their hand. What is this? It's not threatening our legal constitutional structure.
Nobody is threatening the legal constitutional structure.
What are these? How else would you mean that youth can go to any extent?
The point remains that there is a context as to why this is being stated by Mohan Bhagwatji and Krishna Gopalji. Fact remains that for the last 70 years, this court, this matter has not been decided. It is pending adjudication. You spoke about judicial delay. If there is willingness between the parties, and there are senior advocates on this panel, and they will agree to me that the Aadha matter was decided in a record time, 45 days straight. Right. So this case could also have been decided 30 days regular hearing.
But even if it wasn't,
efforts
did
were
you
made,
hear anybody say patience is running out?
No, successfully efforts were made to derail the proceedings, and therefore in 2018 there was no hearing. And therefore, if Mohan Bhagwatji is saying that patience is running out, he is talking about the context. For 70 years, everybody is waiting for a resolution to be found out.
Last time, when the argument of patience running out was used, it led to the mob demolishing a mosque. 2,000 people were killed in riots that followed. So when one talks about patience running out, one can't just treat it as just a very general statement. It is a very charged, it's a very loaded statement. Dushyant Dave, let me ask you this. The question here not so much is whether or not you have functionaries of the government saying that the court should deliver a verdict. It appears to be that you're almost prejudging what that verdict should be. That is what is a matter of concern. When Yogi Adityanath says there was a temple, there will be a temple in the future as well, isn't that prejudging what the outcome is already going to be? And he is someone who occupies a constitutional position.
Well, let me answer that a little later. First, let me say one thing to my fellow panelists, that the fixing of the hearing of this matter before the Supreme Court was in extremely questionable circumstances. Neither of the parties before the Supreme Court, neither the Nirmohi Akhada nor the Muslim Personal Law Board, had requested the Supreme Court to hear this matter out of turn. It was my good friend Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, who is not a party to the proceedings, who repeatedly mentioned it for early hearing, twice he was declined by Chief Justice Thakur's bench, later Chief Justice Keher's bench. Yet again he mentions, and Chief Justice Keher fixes up the matter and constitutes a specially, selected bench as, as what he called himself the master of the role. So I think the matter
it is a
was
2010
really
matter,
not
Mr. Dave.
Pushed by the
It's
party.
a 2010 matter.
It was not. It was not.
How
being
long do
pushed
you
by
think
the
it should last
parties.
in the Supreme Court?
It was being pushed
For
by an
another decade?
outsider. Secondly,
Should it be in the Supreme Court for another decade?
please don't interrupt.
Don't, Vivek, don't interrupt. Don't
Sorry.
interrupt.
There are large number of other matters which are pending.
no.
We are not on that. We are only
it
on
was
the
time
question
that
that,
this matter was
parties were
heard.
not interested. Why is it that an outsider was pushing it? That's one. Two, now what you said, Srinivas, is absolutely true. It does not behold, the constitutional functionaries and other, every one of these people whom has spoken is highly respected in society, whether it is, Mr. Bhagwat, the RSS chief, is so well respected. Prime Minister, Mr. Modi is very highly respected. These are the people who should really not say things which is going to really hurt the sentiments of anybody. It's not necessary. And of course, is an attempt to pressurize the judiciary that, the January come what may, before the elections, fix it up.
Okay,
and
now
decide
let's
the
get
matter.
Vivek ready.
Why should it be fixed before the election? I ask myself a question.
Yeah.
The BJP
think,
in its manifesto has
Srinivas-
spoken about, as Vivek
Okay,
Reddy
Mr.
rightly
Dave, let me
points
just-
out, that this issue should be resolved
Okay.
within constitutional
Yes,
means.
okay, let me put that
Now,
to the BJP.
BJP is, now
Let
if
me-
an election,
Okay, let
Yes,
me put
yes.
that to
if
the
the
BJP.
election
Vivek
cannot
Reddy.
be, fought,
Okay, let me put that to the BJP.
Srinivas, if
Vivek
you
Reddy,
cannot
the question
buy-
is,
if
Vivek
I
Reddy,
can
the
cannot
question is,
persuade
Vivek
votes
Reddy, the question is
on
this.
religious grounds.
The Prime
It is
Minister, Mr. Dave, just a
surprising
second.
that in an
Mr. Dave,
election
please, sir,
manifesto of
allow
a
me
party
to, allow me
which
to,
is in
Mr.
power
Dave,
can
please
speak
allow me,
about Ram
allow me,
Temple.
Mr. Dave, to put it to the BJP. The question here, Vivek, is that the Prime Minister says it's the Congress which is exerting pressure on the court. But look at the statements being made by BJP leader after BJP leader, RSS leader after RSS leader, saying that if the court does not deliver the verdict fast and does not deliver it in our favor, patience is running out. Youth will take matters into their own hands. They can go to any extent.
Well,
who is really intimidating or putting pressure on the court here?
Srinivasan, well, let me tell you, Srinivasan, this intimidation is not by the sadhus or by the people involved in this agitation. Certainly not. Because the reason is this.
But the language?
Unlike what Mr. Dave is trying to put out, that, this matter wanted to be, they intended to take this matter out of turn, and Chief Justices denied taking this matter out of turn. Let us put this
I'm
whole
not on
thing in
that.
perspective, Mr. Dave.
I'm not on that.
This is a 2010 matter.
I'm not on the legal
For a
history.
second, 1 second, let me
I'm
just
not
finish.
on the legal history
I know
of this
where
case.
you are.
We all
I
know
know
the
where
legal
you are.
history
Hold
of
on.
this case.
Hold on.
I am
Unless
on
you
the
understand
statements
why
made in the
people,
past 72
why
hours.
people are yearning for a solution. Why are
are you
people
not
yearning for a
responding to
solution,
my
Mr.
question,
Srinivasan?
which
The
is on the
reason
statements
is
made
the
by
matter is
senior-
pending since 2010.
Senior functionaries, senior
so
political
should they
functionaries.
continue to
Why are
wait?
you on the legal
There are two
timeline? We
aspects
know
in
the
your
legal timeline. We know the legal
Correct.
timeline. Come
There
to
are-
the point
there
of
are
a
two
union
aspects
minister
in
saying,
your
I am
question.
worried what will
Come
happen.
to the, I am on the point.
I'm worried what will happen if there's
sir,
no verdict.
Why are
He's a
people
union
impatient
minister.
today?
He's supposed to
That's the
defend the
first
law.
part of your question. Can I answer that? I will tell, even the union minister says that they are impatient. The reason why they are impatient is because since 10 years you have held on to this litigation. It may be the apex court of the nation, but the people are entitled to ask why this matter is kept for 10 years and why other matters are taken immediately on a fast track.
You don't
Mr.
represent
Dave must be
India.
able to tell us. He is a senior advocate, closely associated and working in the Supreme Court. Certain matters receive fast consideration, but a matter which
come on,
impinges on, impacts on
It's really a
millions
bit
of
much
people.
to suggest
It does
that.
not touch
I mean,
the Supreme
you're
Court
a
at all.
lawyer, Sandeep is a lawyer. Are you suggesting that that the Supreme
I am
Court
not
is
suggesting.
biased?
I am not suggesting. I am not suggesting,
said
Mr.
so yourself,
Srinivasan.
certain matters.
Perhaps.
Okay,
the
last
Supreme
word,
Court
Amarendra
must
Sharan.
look into this matter.
Amarendra
And
Sharan,
it
we're
is
completely
time.
out of time.
That is why I am saying this.
We're completely out of time. Is there a risk here that this could escalate?
No, I think, of course, there is a risk. If this escalates, it will be too bad for the country. I don't want this to escalate at all. Now, the question is, which case is important? Which
Right.
case should be heard first? Which case should be heard a little later? We should leave it to the court. We should have trust in our court. Court, after all, will decide this matter
Well,
in
there is a
accordance
time
with
limit.
law.
2010,
We have
8
gone to the
years.
court. They have
We're
gone
out
to
of
the
time.
court.
Matters.
We're out of time. Vivek, don't
There are
interrupt,
so
please.
many
We're out of
matters
time.
Matters
which
of
take
lesser
longer and
importance.
longer
Talking
time.
about trusting the court when Yaqub
No, no.
Memon
No,
was
no,
hanged.
not lesser important.
The
They
next
are
day, the
immediately
Allahabad High
arrested,
Court
Sharon.
about the how
Death
the court
appeal take
functions.
20
What is the
years.
reason?
So please remember that in a democracy, the decision of the court, even though the court sat through the entire night and given a verdict,
Okay,
the
we're out
Yaqub
of
Memon
time.
verdict was challenged and was criticized in newspapers. In fact, one newspaper said that then they hanged Yaqub
Okay,
Memon,
we're out
Ultimately,
of
the
time.
court is
thereby
for the people.
imputing
Okay,
the
we're out of-
Supreme
The
we'll have
court
to-
is
we'll have
on
to silence
works within a
mics if-
constitutional framework.
If we don't wrap, we'll have
The
to silence
court must
mics.
answer the people's needs,
We don't
craving
is-
for justice.
Okay,
We
we'll have
don't
to silence
criticize
mics.
the
We're completely
court.
out of time. That's it on Reality Check. The question is not about questioning the Supreme Court. It's about the language that is used, the language of warning, the language of threat by high government functionaries. That was the real question that we were setting out to debate. Anyway, we're out of time. Thank you all so much for joining us on Reality Check. That's the show. Good night.